All right, we're going to review the unit circle here. The unit circle is a circle where the radius is 1 unit. That's why they call it the unit circle. X-axis runs through it horizontally. So this is our x-axis. Y-axis runs through it vertically. So this would be the point. What would be the coordinates of that point?
1, 0.
That's 0, 0. So this would be 1, 0 right here. This would be the point 0, 1. This would be negative 1, 0. This would be 0, negative 1. All right. Now there's some other key points that you're going to have to be able to find. One point is the point that's halfway, right in the middle of quadrant 1. Another point is a point that's a third of the way up quadrant 1. Another point is 2/3 of the way up quadrant 1. And we're going to talk about something called radian measures. We need to find what's the circumference of this circle. Well, circumference of a circle is 2 pi times the radius. That's a geometry formula. 2 pi r is the circumference of a circle. So if the radius is 1, the circumference is going to be 2 pi times 1 or 2 pi. So all the way around this circle is 2 pi. Let's say we're going to start this at 0 radians right here. So 2 pi all the way around. This will be back to 2 pi radians. What would this be right here then? Pi. Yep. Half of 2 pi would be pi. Half of that would be what? Pi over 2. Good. This would be half of pi, pi. This would be 1.5 pi, which we normally write as 3 pi over 2. Back to 2 pi. How about what's half of a half? Half of pi over 2 would be what? Pi over 4. So that'd be 1/4, 2/4, which is a half. Right in the middle here, this would be 3/4 pi. 3 pi over 4. 4 pi over 4. This would be 5 pi over 4. 6 pi over 4, which is 3/2. This would be 7 pi over 4. So this is how I would suggest that you start your unit circle. Is go count by fours. There's 0, 1/4 pi, 2/4 pi, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, back to 8/4, which is 2 pi. All right. Next, let's talk about the numbers that are not in the middle of the quadrants, like that point and that point. Probably don't have these in exactly the right places, but you get the idea, hopefully. This is going to be 1/6 of pi. You're going to start with pi over 6. The next dot up here would be 2/6, which can be reduced to 5/3. The dot at the top would be 3/6, or pi over 2. The next dot would be 4/6 pi, which would be the same as 2 pi over 3. The next dot is 5/6. So 5 pi over 6. Right here would be 6/6, which is 1 pi. This would be 7/6. 8/6 would be down here, which can be reduced to 4 pi over 3. Right? 8/6 is the same as 4/3. 9/6 is at the very bottom. Right here is 10/6, which would be 5 pi over 3. Right there's 11/6, 11 pi over 6. And then all the way back to the beginning is 12/6, or 2 pi. Any questions about labeling the circle in radians? Now you might be thinking, I thought we were doing degrees the other day. Why are we doing radians? Okay, it's kind of like if I wanted to measure the distance from here to that chair. I could do it in feet or I could do it in inches. Right? You have 2 different measurements. Well, with degrees, you can do it in radians or you can do it with degrees. Okay, with angles, I mean. Angles can be measured in degrees or radians. These are radians. And anyone know what a radian is? What 1 radian is? We should talk about that, because you might be thinking, well, what is a radian? I don't even know what a radian is. Anyone know about how many degrees it is? No? It's about 57 degrees, approximately. What it is, it's the angle that's formed when the radius is equal to the arc length. So when this radius is the same as this arc length right here, that angle is 1 radian. When this equals this equals this. It's kind of like an equilateral triangle, but this is an arc. It's not a straight line. When that angle is called a radian, and it's about 57 degrees. Not quite, but about. Okay, now on the unit circle, there's really 3 measurements that you need to keep track of. 3 main numbers. And the numbers are 1/2, square root 2 over 2, square root 3 over 2. Those are the really only 3 key numbers you have to remember. In fact, you could think of it like this. Square root 1 over 2, square root 2 over 2, square root 3 over 2. Well, what's the square root of 1? 1. So let's just take the square root off that. The 1/2, that's your shortest distance. Square root 3 over 2, that's your longest distance. Square root 2 over 2, that's your medium distance. So, for example, to get to this point, I've got to go a long ways to the right and only a short ways up. So I know that the coordinates of this are going to be the long distance, which is square root 3 over 2, and then the short distance up, which is 1/2. If I'm in the middle of the quadrant, like pi over 4, then I'm going to go the medium distance over and the medium distance up. So square root 2 over 2, square root 2 over 2. I'm up at this point. I'm looking at that thinking, okay, I got to go a shorter distance over and then a longer distance up. So what would be the coordinates of that point? Short and long. And if you can just remember these 3 numbers and just look at the picture, okay, I've got to go shorter distance sideways, the short distance is 1/2, longer distance up, square root 3 over 2. Like here, I've got to go the short distance sideways, so what would that be? Negative 1/2, yep. These coordinates right here would be negative 1/2. And then it's the longer distance up, square root 3 over 2. This one's back in the middle of the quadrant. When you're in the middle of the quadrant, use your middle number. So you're going left and then up, so it's going to be negative square root 2 over 2 for going left, then up, positive square root 2 over 2. This one, I'm going to go the long distance to the left. So what would be the first coordinate? Negative square root 3 over 2 because I'm going left. And then it's only a short distance up, so what's the y coordinate? 1/2. Here I'm going long distance left, short distance down. So left and down, they're both going to be negative. Long distance left is going to be negative square root 3 over 2. Short distance down would be negative 1/2. Middle of the quadrant, use your middle number. Left and down, these are both going to be negatives. This would be negative square root 2 over 2, negative square root 2 over 2. This one down here, what's the first coordinate going to be? Right, you're going the short distance left. I mean, just look at, that's shorter than that. Just look at the picture. That's shorter, so your first coordinate's going to be the shorter number, negative 1/2. And so that's longer, so that's going to be your long distance. This would be negative 1/2, negative square root 3 over 2. How about the coordinates of this one? What's the x coordinate going to be? 1/2. What's the y coordinate? Negative square root 3 over 2. Yeah. Middle of the quadrant, so that's going to be square root 2 over 2, negative square root 2 over 2. This one's going to go long distance, short distance, so square root 3 over 2, negative 1/2. And there's your coordinates. So now, if I said, what's the sine of 30 degrees? You should picture in your head 30 degrees. Oh, we better talk about degrees too. Let's go through and label this with degrees quick. This first measurement, that is 1/6 of the top 180. 180 degrees in the top half of the circle. 1/6 of 180, that's 30 degrees. This would be 60 degrees, 90 degrees, 120, 150, 180, 210, just adding 30 each time. Down here's 240, 270, add 30, that's 300. Add 30, that's 330. Add 30, this is 360 degrees all the way around the circle. Now, middle of the quadrant. So if this angle right here is 90, what would that angle be right there? Right, so 45 plus 45 is 90, plus 45 is 135, plus 45 is 180, plus 45 is 225, plus 45 is 270, plus 45, 270 plus 45 is 315, plus 45 is 360. That's what you're going to need to write on that unit circle quiz in 2 days. You're going to have to be able to tell me the degrees, the radians, the x and y coordinates. And the other important thing to know is that the x coordinate is your cosine of your angle. The y coordinate is your sine. And you need to know this. So cosine is your x coordinate, sine is your y coordinate, tangent, let's just call the angle theta. I should have an angle measure in there. Theta could represent some degree or radian. And remember how to find tangent? Yeah, it's whoops. Sine over cosine. It's the sine of theta over the cosine of theta. So you're going to put the y over the x. Then you've got some reciprocals, which are on your pink, or your blue trig sheet I gave you. Reciprocal of cosine, anyone remember what that's called?
Secant.
Secant, it's called secant. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So it's 1 over cosine. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so 1 over sine. And cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, so you can either do 1 over tangent, or you can do cosine over sine, or x over y. All right, so there's a lot of information in a short period of time. Try to send that out to you, so if you want to see it again, you can. If I can get it shut off.